Ready?
Yeah.
Ready.
Cool. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Emily Kanter, and I'm one of the co-owners of Cambridge Naturals. And I'm here along with my dad, Michael Kanter, for the third ever installment of Banter with Kanter. Hello, Dad.
Nice to be here.
And we're thrilled to be here today with Paige and Ted Parker, who are the co-owners and co-presidents of Vibrant Health, one of our longtime partner vendors. And Paige and Ted took over Vibrant Health in 2007, having worked with and for the company for several years before that, including selling Vibrant Health products in Paige's own natural food store, Mohegan Naturals. Paige and Ted, welcome to Banter with Kanter.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Happy to be here.
Thank you so much.
You guys are co.
A lot of collaboration.
I think that's the most equitable setup in organizations, right? That's more true partnership than it is where, you've got the president, you've got the vice president, you've got,
Management.
Executive vice president. Yes, I think that is appropriate for what it is we do at Vibrant Health as co-owners and co-presidents to have those titles.
Good for you. I
Yeah.
like hearing that.
Yeah, I think that's totally right. There's sort of like this false idea of like one person can do it all, but you need collaboration, you need differing ideas, you need people to disagree with you, and then hopefully you come to a better conclusion as a result of having that collaboration.
And I will tell you both that talk about disagreeing. It hasn't always been this like lovey-dovey relationship. When we first started working together back in 2007, it was really kind of put up your dukes. And we were so polar opposites, with what Ted thought and did versus what I thought and do. And it took us several years of working together to really come to understand your strengths, my strengths.
Yeah, we realize that when you do it on your own, it doesn't usually work out really well. It's so interesting with that,
Right.
But when you have a meeting of the minds and we come together on something and finally agree on something, it usually is the right decision. It may take a little while to get there,
Yeah.
we start off here and here.
Right.
When we get there, it's like, wow, that was the right decision. I'm glad we went through that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
Yeah,
part of
the
the struggle is of value to you both as a couple and to the business, because you're creating things that you don't know how they're going to turn out. I mean, you really don't ever, right? I mean, it's every day is something new and a new challenge, and certainly we're experiencing a lot of new challenges lately, and you're making decisions that look right, and it's really sweet when they work out, and then there's some that don't work out so well, and you learn from those, and they're not necessarily failures. They may send you off in a different direction, but that doesn't mean you either haven't learned something or two, that you haven't figured something out to actually enhance what you're doing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. It's not failures, they're lessons.
Right.
Some are costly, painful lessons.
yeah.
But I wish they weren't so costly. But
Yeah.
Well, as I've said often, the first 46 years are the hardest. So, and that's all we know so far. That's my wife and I. Or as I sometimes put it, we lead a pretty decent life, even in midst all of these challenges. And as I say, I have a roommate that mostly puts up with me. There are those moments, but it is interesting to work together, live together, having raised 3 children together, now on and on and on. I mean, it goes deep, and sometimes it's like, why did you do that? Like what? Like what were you thinking? But,
You guys probably never have those moments, though.
No, they're an exception. I can tell.
So when we purchased Vibrant Health and when Ted started to work for Vibrant Health, it was located in Canaan, Connecticut.
No, Lakeville.
Lakeville, Connecticut, which was an hour and a half from our home.
Oh, wow.
So an hour and a half each way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And right before we purchased the company, I joined Vibrant Health to start to learn the different aspects of the organization. I
Operations.
was operations, finance. What else? What else can you be?
Chief cook and bar.
Yes. And so guys, I'm sharing this with you because, to Michael's point, about 47 years, we drove to work together in the morning, so that's an hour and a half. But before that, we would work out together. So we'd work out in our basement together, get in the car, drive to work all day together. And at some points in the organization, we worked in the same room at the same table as we're doing right now. But that was a matter of circumstances then. Now it's just a matter of convenience, I guess.
Right.
And so there was an enormous amount of time we were spending together, and that could put a strain on any relationship, right? Let alone, so you've got your marriage, you own a business together, you work together, etc. I will tell you what got us through this: marriage counseling.
I thought you were going to say a Vibrant Health product, but go ahead.
I was like, this one?
No, not at all.
It wasn't the CBD oil in the Green Vibrant?
No, we've been in marriage counseling for over a decade, and I will tell you, it's really helped us learn how to work better together, how to hear each other, not just what the words are, but kind of what the emotions are behind the words. And it's really helped us be better business people. Aside from being a better husband and wife, it's helped us be better leaders in our organization as well. So
yeah, that makes total sense. I think there's probably a lot of around marriage counseling that relates to just relationships as a whole, and so like your relationships with your employees and probably your relationships with your children too. And I'm curious, there was a New York Times article recently where a woman who hadn't worked with her husband before, they were suddenly in quarantine together and spending all day long together, maybe not doing the same thing, but in the same space. And at the end of the day, they were sort of running out of things to say to each other. And so I'm curious, I'm sure you've never experienced that, but if you had, what are some of the things that you've done to keep your marriage, alive and thriving, while, you're working on the same things, you're working with the same people, you're facing the same challenges in a professional environment? How do you then keep the creativity and inspiration alive in your marriage?
Well, first, I think you have to kind of, you do have to.
Celebrated yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Well, we celebrated our 20th year together. And that doesn't
Wow.
That's not 20 years of marriage. It's 20 years since the day we met. Yeah.
Congratulations.
And I have it on my calendar. I know it's the 14th of July. And, but I was going to say kind of going with the flow too sometimes, just understanding that sometimes she needs her space, and Paige likes to binge watch some shows and I don't particularly like. And I like to watch old movies from the 30s and 40s, and she doesn't like to watch those at all. So we give ourselves the space that we need to kind of, balance ourselves out and remember who we are as individuals. But then, really enjoying some things that we love to do together, which is travel. And this has been difficult in the era of COVID, right? I mean, where are we going? So the safe place that we feel comfortable is being by the water, and we go to the beach probably 2-3 times a week. Just to kind of lay by the water and get some good vitamin D. And so we've been enjoying that together with our children and our extended family, but not going too far beyond that level.
Yeah, and another thing that we've been doing that has brought us closer together is walking. So we live in a subdivision of 75 homes, and it's 3 miles from end to end.
Oh, cool.
So as soon as we got back from Florida and the governor put us in a shelter in place, we work out. So we're avid exercise people. We work out in our basement. We just took advantage of this lovely subdivision that we have with some nice little hills in there and started walking back in March. We walk every day, 3 miles or more before the day starts, and we talk. We talk about everything, business, our children, our family. Ted's tired of talking about the news. He's tired of talking about COVID, about Trump. He's tired of talking about what else, Ted? Who the VP? He's tired. He's just like, sometimes he just wants to talk about the weather or something like that. And we have become so intimately connected to this neighborhood. We can tell you everything about every house, every tree, every shutter. I mean, and for whatever reason, that walk has been so therapeutic for us and cathartic in a way that, you know, we're like kids. Come on, all right, we got to go for our walk, and it just starts the day off for us in the most positive way. And sometimes we'll walk twice a day. And I'll be honest with you, and I don't know what else, Ted, besides cooking together, doing these our walks have really just really brought us close together.
Yeah.
I think you're, oh, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I think you're talking to two hardcore walkers also.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's never a day, maybe ice, maybe if it's icy, that's, but even then, there's never a day we don't go out for walks.
So you go out in the winter? Because this is new for us.
No, every day, every single day. Never, ever not go for a walk, and at least 3 miles. That's kind of a goal of mine, is at least 3 miles. In July, so far, I've averaged over 5 miles a day, every day.
I got him a Fitbit, so now he can actually track it. And
Awesome.
I know he's not lying.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this pandemic, we're almost up to 500 miles. I just did the calculation.
Yeah.
Oh,
500
that's
miles.
amazing.
That's a long way to walk.
Yeah. I
No,
mean,
it's a question of sanity for me. It's one of those things that I know will settle me down.
Yes.
Even if I'm doing the same route, I see things that I hadn't seen before, you know, designs on people's houses or flowers that have just come up, or people outside working their yards, anything like that. Occasional conversations when I see the same people over and over again. I do these hills. We have hills in Somerville, so I do the hills of Somerville, and I try and do them fast to get my heart going and so forth. And it also just feels as if I'm doing something that doesn't involve any equipment. I'm not against equipment or anything. It's just I get up and walk, and you know, fortunately I can walk. There are people who, for whatever reason, aren't able to walk, but it means no privilege. I don't get in my car. We just walk. And so forth. But to get a little more on Vibrant Health, and maybe a little more on where you two are at, maybe you could give us a little history of why you purchased Vibrant Health and where you see it going. And I think Emily also had a question about how you're dealing with, you know, the current crisis that we're in, and what you're seeing in terms of both your business and your personal lives. So if you could go a little deeper into both of those, I'd be really eager to hear that, because I'm not putting you up on a pedestal. Vibrant Health is one of my favorite companies, and I use Green Vibrance, I use Maximum, I use your vitamin D. I mean, there are a few other things that I use regularly. So this is not coming from someone like, oh, we're just eager to promote your company. This is your company, and you folks are important to us.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
And vice versa.
Yes.
So, you know, when I was in corporate America years ago, and I'll try to make a long story short, I noticed that I was getting sick quite frequently. And I meant, when I mean sick, I mean colds. I would catch a cold at least 2 to 3 times a year, which, believe it or not, I found out is pretty average. But I didn't feel like it should be the case. And not only that, I was getting frustrated with being sick all the time. but I also developed lactose intolerance. I really wasn't eating well. I was eating hot dogs off of hot dog stands in New York City, on my way to an appointment. So diet was poor. The circulation, I get heart palpitations from time to time. I just felt like very unhealthy. I wasn't working out and I wasn't eating well. So I got a respiratory infection one time and it lasted a month. And I swore to myself I would never be that sick again. I mean, I literally coughed for a month long.
Yeah.
And after that, I said, you know what, I got to do something about it. So I went to my local natural market. And I looked at,
what natural market was that?
I don't live in Cambridge, otherwise it would be yours. And I went in and I found, I scoured the shelves, and you probably see a lot of your customers doing this, like looking at the shelves, spending like oodles of time. They might be in the aisle for an hour. You know that they're looking for an answer. And I was looking for an answer. And I remember seeing this product called Green Vibrance, and it said supports nutrition, digestion, circulation, and immunity. And I said, well, my nutrition is bad. I'm eating hot dogs off a hot dog stand in New York City, so that's not good nutrition. Digestion was poor, I'm lactose intolerant. Circulation, that was heart palpitations. And immunity, I'm getting sick all the time. So it really spoke to me, those four foundations of health. So I started taking the product without a lot of hope that this was going to be kind of the answer. But it truly was. After a couple of weeks, I started to have renewed energy. My lactose intolerance seemed to kind of go away, even though it was a very mild case of lactose intolerance. I noticed that after a few months, I had gotten sick. And after 6 months, after a year gone by, I got sick. I was like, wow, I'm not getting sick. And then after literally a couple of years, I realized, man, I hadn't been sick in years. And I started telling everybody about this product, and it virtually changed my life. And I talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. Where I had all my family members on the product. When Paige and I met, she was opening up a natural market, and she decided to bring it in.
Yeah. So when I met Ted, I was really had become an advocate of health and wellness, and I've always been into health. I used to run health clubs for a living, fitness centers, and even attempted to open my own little fitness center in my father's building when I was 18 years old. So I've been dealing with an illness as well, not similar to Ted, but kind of it's what brought me to the wellness industry. I was dealing with a case of candida that I had not had any help with from any allopathic doctor. And finally, out of pure frustration, I went to see a naturopathic physician in New York City who proceeded to put me on 35 different supplements. And I'm going back 25 plus years. I was also put on an anti-candida diet, of course, which is essentially no gluten, no sugar, no dairy, no soy. And I was buying Spiritine and 50 different bottles of supplements and soya milk at the time, because there wasn't almond milk or oat milk, and just had to embrace this new living style of living, new lifestyle. And I was spending an exorbitant amount of time in health food stores and boatloads of money. I come from an entrepreneurial family. My dad owned real estate. My aunt owned restaurants. And I said to myself one day, and at the time I was working for Citibank, I said to myself, I have to open up my own natural market and take care of myself and take care of others. And so I proceeded to get information from the local bank, and I found a location, and I was working on a business plan, which is when I met Ted. Ted's such a great writer, very articulate. He helped me finish the business plan. We fell madly in love at this point. It happened like that, literally. And we proceeded to go to get some funding from the local bank. And a few months later, we opened up the store, stocked, all the best and highest quality products that were available, that were efficacious and high quality. And Ted said to me, Paige, you got to bring Green Vibrance you've got to bring Green Vibrance into Mohegan Naturals. And so I stocked Green Vibrance in some of the other SKUs, which was, I think, Join at the time, I think Rainbow Vibrance, and some of the less popular ones. And Ted would proceed to sell these products every weekend. And we became one of Vibrant Health's top retailers. I mean, and we just had maybe a 4-foot section, but because of our passion and our belief in the product, it sold it. People came, I need help with my digestion, whatever it was, this was the product for them.
And, you know, at the time I was unemployed. I had lost my job in corporate America right before we got married. So literally before our wedding, I think we got married in September. I got laid off like in June.
March.
Oh, no.
Like that was like the previous June, right before. I remember that summer because I remember you saying, you know, did you get severance? And I was like, well, yeah, I got a month. And you were like, get 2. Like 6 months. Yeah. And you know what? I did get 6 is right. She said, you need to call back and get 6. I think I did get 2. I think I got 6 months severance, which allowed me to, you know, spend some time. I mean, I spent a lot of time in corporate America running sales organizations and selling. That was my vocation forever. But one thing about, you know, natural products that I felt so passionate about, in particular Vibrant Health, I felt like I wasn't selling. You know, I was just talking about the products that I truly and honestly believed in. You know, the full disclosure kind of construct that Mark had built around the formulations, listing every ingredient by dose and everything, was just so clear to me. And I was like, why isn't every product like this? Like, why all products list all the ingredients by dose? So, you know, for me, it was an easy transition. And, you know, again, it wasn't something that I felt like was forced. It just kind of happened. And it started to grow from there. Vibrant Health, when I joined the company, it was like a $1.4 million brand. It was very, you know, small. You know, there were some stores that did much.
I think you're leaving out some 2 things that I want to just interject, right? One was, I remember stocking the shelves one day, and Ted picked up something and said to me, you know, it'd be great if we were manufacturers.
I said, that was interesting, right?
Yeah, he said it would be great to be on the other side of the industry, not so much having a store and working a store, because as you both know, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Tremendous commitment. He said, I would love to be on the other side of this.
Well, but little do I know that this is a tremendous commitment. I don't know why.
Be careful what you say, what you ask.
The grass is not greener.
Yeah.
It was just us. You know, now we have 50 employees, and you know, you have this big office and this huge rent, and it's like.
What about going to the trade show?
And had you thought of a pandemic coming along too? Probably not, right?
No way. Not at all. I think that was the furthest thing from our radar was pandemic. This is somewhat bizarre. So I guess shifting gears to you know, the pandemic and how it's impacted our business. It's interesting in that because it was so unanticipated. You know, out of stocks became like, you know, the first hurdle that we had to jump over. Because whenever, you know, there is some kind of health crisis, and, you know, we've seen this before, not to this degree, everyone decides, hey, you know what, maybe I should focus on my immunity.
Right.
You know, like,
Right.
maybe I should have done that before, you know. You know, our immune system is our first line of defense, and it's so often, you know, overlooked or just not thought of as important until crisis time. So crisis time happens, everybody runs to the store. So, you know, just like most folks who were hit with this in the very beginning, ran to the store and there was a run on toilet paper, or there was a run on paper towels or paper goods. Well, guess what? There was a run on supplements, and you know, anything that consumer thought would help prevent them from getting COVID was something that they just grabbed and bought and stockpiled. So even to this day, and we're 4 months into this, we had to put limits on the amount of units you can purchase from us as a retailer. And
Yeah.
we didn't do it, but at the same time, we're trying to be fair to everyone and make sure everyone gets a chance to get product in and that no one's completely out of stock, including themselves.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's so where do I see it going? I still think that, I think this we're going to be in this pandemic for a while longer. Maybe a lot longer, maybe next year this time, we'll still be coming out of it, hopefully by then. During that time, I think that there will be continued awareness being built upon people saying, how do I build my immune system? What is actually in, the red marine algae that you can take, or what's in, all of these products. And then when you figure out what's in them, like sulfated polysaccharides, what do they do? And how do they prevent viral replication? How do you do that? And how do I protect my lungs? D3 is good for my lungs. E is good for my lungs. And, you're learning, and I'm hoping that that's what comes out of it most, is that we learn about the ingredients that can help us boost our immune systems, so that when the next pandemic comes around, or the next flu virus, that we know how to handle it best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm curious, not just in light of the pandemic, but obviously Vibrant Health has grown dramatically since you guys took over. I think you were doing 7 million, you said 1.4 million in sales when you got involved, Ted, and then 7 million when you took over as co-owners, and now recently we're at 30 million in sales, and that's a tremendous amount of growth. And I'm curious, how you have both kept your own health and well-being and sanity at the forefront, even while growing this company, and how you've also managed to keep your team healthy and well, and keep sort of the harmony of the company intact through that tremendous growth. I know we've grown a lot over the last 6 years since I've moved back, and we've certainly experienced some growing pains as a result. So I imagine, you have too, but in what ways have you weathered the storms of growth, even while it's obviously been tremendously successful?
Well, sanity and harmony, I don't know that we've achieved either one.
They're always out there.
I beg to differ. I've never felt more sane and more balanced in, I would say, the last 20 years. But if we're talking specifically in the time frame of when we purchased the business to now, and I mentioned this today on our walk, I feel a calmness. I feel a balance that I can't say I've felt in a long time. I would even venture to say since we've purchased the business. And I think part of it has to do with the lifestyle now, the fact that we were forced to slow down and be mindful about everything we do and how we're living right now.
But that's now, for sure.
Now,
but
right.
Before that, I mean, the business has taken quite a few turns, as most businesses do. And we've had our ups and downs. The business has done well consistently financially, but there were times that we've had a few faux pas that, we weren't doing so well financially. I mean, I can name probably about 10. I remember one of the first faux pas was putting okra in Green Vibrance. Okra is a wonderful nutritive ingredient. Wonderful, it's a vegetable, I think, right?
Yes.
But it also is a mucilaginous vegetable.
Right.
So it's, even when my mother, who is from South Carolina, used to cook it, she'd have to saute it first, because if she didn't do it before she put it in her gumbo or soup, it would turn into this slime soup, which no one wanted to eat. And of course,
so you, of course, thought, we'll put it in a product.
Yeah.
Well, that was smart.
Maybe it's good for the throat.
Yeah. Well, when you look at the nutrient makeup of okra, it's pretty impressive. But of course, you take this powder and you're like, and of course, what didn't I think? I don't know why I didn't think of this. Warren Mark, who was our formulator and founder, I didn't say to him, this could be bad, because I think, and it was. It literally, if you put If you took green vitamins back then, and maybe this is about 20 years ago, during that version, because we do have this practice of formula obsolescence, we're always changing the formula. If you didn't drink it right away, you could stick a fork in it.
Yeah.
And then when you took the fork out, it would kind of ooze out as you look out. So it was pretty bad. But that was painful, and we've had some other ones along the way. One recently, just a few years back, was us just having a problem with production. As we've grown, most of the producers, see, we don't really make anything. We are what do you call it? Where we buy our own raw materials, a tolling operation. So we source all of our raw materials because we are able to keep quality and cost very high. Well, I should say cost down. Quality high. But what happened is that we went to one manufacturer, just couldn't make our product. It was too much. It was too many ingredients, number one, because we do formulate in that fashion where we want the formulas to work, and in order for them to work, they have to be comprehensive, and each ingredient has to be in there at an effective potency. So that truly means like this big comprehensive formula. And then when you add, the volume gets up to be 50,000 kilos at a time, most manufacturers can't handle that. From a production standpoint, blending, bottling, they don't have the capacities, or they don't have the warehouse capacity. So one manufacturer called us up, literally it was probably about 4 years ago. We just moved to him. He said, I don't know when I could fit you into the production schedule. And we're like, okay, well, we're going to be a little delayed. 2 weeks later, he's like, I still don't know when I can get you in 3 weeks. And I was like, oh my God. So I think it was probably 6 weeks went by, and we were just like, you know what, pack it up. And
no, it was months. It literally almost put us out of business.
Yeah.
Manufacturer that couldn't make our product. If you don't have product to sell, you can't make money. And because we purchase all of our raw materials, it's literally a cycle that keeps going around and around. We make product, we sell product. We have money to buy ingredients. We have ingredients to put in our product, and that's the way it works. And we got into this relationship, guys. I won't name any names, but it literally almost cost us our company. We couldn't make product. They refused to make our product. They wanted us to become a proprietary blend, which goes against
everything you've said from the get-go.
Yeah.
From the get-go, they said, hey, it's too difficult to make your products. We can't stand behind label claims. Here's what we suggest. Here's a formula, and we'll make this for you readily. And for us, that was a deal breaker.
Yeah.
And, there was a tug of war for a while. They put us in the back of the line. We couldn't get product made. We were out of stock for months. And, we had to explain to our partners or retailers what was going on. And as a fully transparent company, we were able to share what our challenges were. Eventually, we were able to move away from them. We had amassed a tremendous amount of debt at this point. As a self-funded, privately owned, family-owned and operated business, there's no venture capitalist to give us money. So we had to reach out to every partner and explain to them what happened and how we were managing our way through it. And because of the solid partnerships that we've been able to foster over the years, companies were like, we've got you.
We got your back.
What do you need?
Yeah, that was heartwarming. I got to tell you, it was that during that time, and I know they're probably spending too much time talking about this point. But it was definitely a dark time, and I remember literally flying around the country visiting suppliers and just kind of telling our story. And the good thing is, Paige said, we've been partners with them for so many years. I mean, we've been at this as a company since 1992. So we have some partnerships that date back to that time.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's I think a testament to the to your company and your reputation and the work that you've done to build those relationships that you were able to get through that. And that's obviously not easy and very time consuming, but it pays off hopefully in the end because you're able to lean on those relationships. And I know that's been important to us over the 46 years as well. And that's one of the reasons that we were so sad not to go to Expo this year, is like these in-person connections, these relationships are so meaningful. And that's very hard to do when you can't, see each other in person. Although this is nice too. And certainly helpful to be able to connect over Zoom. But it's those in-person relationships that you build and getting to know people and recognizing each other's humanity. And you're not just nameless, faceless companies. You really understand the people behind the brand. So I'm glad you're able to.
Especially when you hit, as Ted said, dark times. I mean,
right.
We've those. We will likely have more of them. We're certainly going through a particularly challenging time now, trying to both maintain our own sanity and the success of our business and the support of our team, whom we treasure, and putting it all together. But I think, as you said, Ted, I mean, customers will put up with us a lot, and they'll even put up with us being out of stock of something today, but what about tomorrow? What do you mean 3 months or something like that? I mean, there are limits, and the relationships are very important, but we only make money when we sell product.
Right.
Our only income is when we actually sell the products to people, and we agonize over, a better term is curate, but we agonize over what products we're going to carry and promote in our business. And then when we don't have them after we've made these choices, it exacerbates the pain. And when customers come in, they can be patient, they can be understanding to a point. But ironically, especially if they've had success with the products, those are the products that they want. They don't want substitutes.
Yeah. But also to that point, I mean, I think, you being so transparent with your suppliers, and also then I assume with your retailers, and that, I think that speaks volumes and also is so helpful to your retailers, because we're sort of on the front lines of talking to the customer, and it helps us to be able to tell this story and say, listen, these are extremely high quality products. It's not a proprietary blend. They're listing every ingredient on the label and showing you what's in the formula. And because of this, their manufacturing is extremely complex. And because of this, they were having these supply chain issues. They are not going to compromise on the product. And so it's going to get here when it gets here. And I think maybe now more than ever, certainly we have customers who are, upset that we're out of stock on certain products. But I think more people are starting to recognize, like, hey, real people make these products, and there are real ingredients in these products. They're not formulated from scratch in a lab. They're actually raw materials, raw vegetables. And I think there's more understanding now for the fact that we might be out of stock on things for a little while, and you might have to try something new for a few weeks, and then you can go back to your favorite product after that. Or maybe try something that you'll like even better. Maybe you've never tried Vibrant Health, and maybe the Green Vibrance is the new greens powder for you. It's an opportunity. Yeah,
it's like toilet paper, right? That's one paper, right? Imagine the
formula. Not 69 ingredients.
Right. Like, I mean, try to read like this tiny font. Like, yeah.
We can also just tell people, when in doubt, buy any product and just add some okra to it. It will change your life.
You will be a lot healthier, that's for sure.
Let it sit for half an hour, you will be surprised.
But before we started this conversation, Paige, you were talking about this particular time and how you've actually found a lot of joy from it. So I wondered if you could speak to that, the silver lining of the very challenging time that we're in, and how it's brought you closer together as a family and for you personally.
Sure. So when we went on shelter at home, prior to that, we were commuting to work an hour each way. So we'd leave the house by, we'd wake up at 5:30, exercise in our basement for an hour, get dressed, have our smoothie, jump in the car, get to the office where we would work from 9 to 5, 5:30, 6 o'clock every day. Jump in the car and have very protracted and disconnected conversations.
Sound bites, remember that?
Sound bites.
Yeah, we used to talk in
Because
never finished the conversation.
Never finished a conversation because everybody was always so busy going in different directions. And
our office was always bombarded. Right?
Yes, and we have an open door policy at work, and people take advantage of it. And they want to talk to you, but they're like children. They just want you to know what they're doing, and they just want to share and be praised, etc. So of course, I'm the last person that's going to dissuade somebody from coming into the office. And Ted tells me all the time, you get interrupted too many times a day. How do you get anything done?
Yeah.
So we would then leave work at 5:30. Or 6 o'clock sometimes. You have an hour commute. You have to eat. Maybe you'll stop and get food out. So you're not eating as holistically as you should. And although you would make healthy choices, it was on the go. You're grabbing food and you're getting home. By now it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock. And our daughter was away at boarding school. And our son was home. So we would see our son, he'd finish his homework and have a quick conversation, and you're in bed and it's time to do this again the next day. So that was our existence pretty much for the entire time that we've owned this company. So fast forward to March 22nd and COVID. Everything came to we transitioned the office remote. I don't know why do you hear that echo?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's not happening now though.
Okay, we turned the volume down.
Okay.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. So right before COVID, before the actual policies came down from the CDC and the local government to shelter in place, we had organized the office to be prepared to do kind of a alternate remote kind of setup. 1 week on, 1 week off. We got back from Florida. It was shelter in place, everyone. So we transitioned the entire office with the exception of the warehouse folks, because obviously we need them to be able to ship our orders out. And we just hunkered down and started working from home, as did all of our employees. So now we found that we had several hours in the day. It was a gift.
Yeah.
We said, let's go exercise. Let's start walking outside. Let's not go in the basement. And we've been living in this subdivision for 17 years. We might have walked the subdivision 5 times.
Wow.
When I had my daughter, I'd go around in the stroller, but outside of that, we never spent any time here.
Well, because we didn't have time.
We didn't have time.
Yeah.
And Paige said an hour. It really was an hour 20, hour and a half.
Yeah.
You're on the road 3 hours a day. There's your time right there. We got all that. So the quality of life just went woof.
Yeah.
We no longer just talking sound bites, and that led to our therapy sessions, because it was like, you're not listening to me. You're not listening to me. But we weren't hearing each other because we're talking in sound bites, so we never really finished the conversation or thought or anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So these walks have really changed our lives. I mean, I said to Ted, this is my mode of exercise going forward. But I did say, Michael, that I won't be out there in the winter. But now that you've shared with me that you're out there, I'm going to have to rethink this and here.
I would encourage that, because I mean, part of it is, I could be teasing, but it's mostly attitudinal. People will say, well, it's really cold out. Yes, I agree, it's cold. I mean, I'm not going to argue that it's not cold. I know to put the right clothes on. I know how to stay warm. I cover up my sort of like wearing a mask. I cover up my face, my mouth, so I'm breathing warm air. I get moving. I don't, stand there. I really move. It actually encourages me to move faster. And I feel like no matter how the rest of the day goes, I mean, I do similar to you. I try and go out early in the morning before I do anything else. No matter what else goes on in the day, ups and downs, challenges, I know I've accomplished something by getting out and going for a 3 mile or however long a walk it is.
Yeah.
I know I've actually done that. I can look back on that and say, I at least did that today.
Yeah,
There's
it's different.
oh,
I'm sorry. I just want to mention, like, going to the gym, like when you go to the gym, there's always interruptions. There's always people talking to you. There's never just you and your significant other or yourself. It's just
there's a Latin phrase that you might be familiar with that's solvitur ambulando or ambulando, which is it is solved by walking around. And
which is why people pace.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Hey, I need to write that down.
Yeah, say that one more time.
It's solvitur. It's I think it's SOLVITUR, solvitur, and then AMBULANDO, ambulando or ambulando. And yeah, so I mean that sense of accomplishment from like walking and thinking and mulling and talking with each other, and it's so much different when you're driving, and you're in traffic and or you're at the gym.
Yeah, when you're driving, you don't have that person's undivided attention,
right?
Because they're focused on the road.
And I'm stressed because I'm driving.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what the walk.
And you're glad they're focused on the road at that point.
Right.
Yeah. But so so that getting that time back with Ted, getting that time back personally, and using that time to enhance my health has been one of the silver linings in going through this pandemic. I've lost 25 pounds.
Wow.
Walking.
Amazing.
Because Michael, there's a hill that's a mile, and it is literally like straight up. I think that's been really helpful in the weight loss. Spending time with the kids. My daughter came home because her school closed, and she had been away at boarding school, so it was nice to have her back. My son and daughter, who are 2 years and 2 months apart, they're more like twins now, and they were when they were younger, so they're extremely close. As a family, we're extremely close now more than ever. My employees have asked forever to work from home. I've always been a proponent of working in the
you just kept saying, you'll have to wait till we have a pandemic, all right?
That should have been my answer. Don't worry, it's coming soon. I know.
Yeah, so now I've, had to resolve this within myself, because I see now that you can work remotely. You can be productive remotely. You improve your quality of life by being able to have work-life balance. Even though some people are finding that they're working a lot more now because they found this extra time, and they're getting, on the other end of it, they're getting a little bit burnt out. So I thought about that.
That's only some, because some folks can't work from home, like our warehouse team.
Right.
Warehouse receiving, they all have to be there. So I guess it is kind of unfair to some. For us, it's great, and for the employees that can work from home, but for those that can't.
And we've got such a dedicated team of employees that when we went shelter in place, the warehouse people knew that they were the front line for the company. They understood how vitally important it was that they showed up. And they did.
Not even one complaint.
We took care of them. We gave them hazard pay. We bought them lunch every single day, because we knew how valuable it was to have this kind of devotion. People to keep us moving. And I tell them all the time, you made it possible for us to continue operating our business,
Similarly,
continue
your
serving our
employees,
customers.
yeah, similar to your employees at the
Yeah.
store.
Yeah, I think this, like even if not every operation or not every job can be remote, I think one thing that this has definitely caused me to think about, and Caleb, and I know my parents as well, is like, how can we think about the future of work and work-life balance? Because there's obviously so much more, or so many things that are important to our lives, and like getting to cook dinner together, like our hours have changed as a result of COVID, and we used to be open 9 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Mhm.
And now we're open 10 to 6:30 for curbside pickup, and we have 11 to 4 for open to the public. And we're gradually hoping to grow that a little bit over time and shift and adjust. But there's something really nice about the fact that the store is closed at 6:30 now, and and people can go home and eat at a reasonable hour and not be digesting too late. And we were open till 8 p.m. in part because people work so late, and then they were getting off work and coming to our store so late. And what if we all, went home around 6 o'clock or so, or earlier, and would we all be just healthier as a society? So I think a lot of different shifts in terms of perspective on what's important and what's essential in order to stay in business.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think COVID, it kind of is allowing us to kind of harken back to a time when life was simple.
Simple.
Right.
Simpler. Like you said, you're out at 5. Businesses used to close at 5 or 6.
Right.
So people could go home and eat dinner and go for a walk in their neighborhood.
Right.
We've only become, with the Industrial Revolution, come to a point where we work 7 days a week. You work
Right.
till 9, 10, 11 o'clock.
That's
country, not healthy.
In this country.
Right.
It's like
Right.
It's different.
It's not healthy,
Right.
guys.
Totally.
I know a young journalist who's researching how COVID is being addressed around the world in many other countries, particularly countries run by women, Iceland, Taiwan, New Zealand, which are doing a much better job of dealing with the whole virus and all kinds of challenges. There are about 8 countries, all run by women, that are doing much better than the United States is, to be fully honest. But one of the interests, so she's reaching out to people all over the world, and she said, well, anecdotally, whenever I end up calling or emailing people in the United States, it seems like any time of day or night, they're getting back to me, meaning this culture, a 24/7 culture that doesn't
Right.
know how to stop.
Right.
And we're learning. I mean, when I was growing up, stores were closed on Sunday. It wasn't a question. Stores were closed on Sundays. Stores were open one night a week till 8 or 9 or something like that. But the rest of the week, they were closed, as you said, at 5 or 6.
Sure.
It wasn't a burden. We just knew that.
Yeah.
Right?
We figured out how to work within that, and you adjusted.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I want to ask you, so Vibrant Health obviously is the name of the company, and Green Vibrance is one of your, or it's the longest running product, and then there's Maximum Vibrance. What does Vibrance mean to both of you as a concept?
Ooh, I don't think
I
I've ever asked
like
that
that's a
question
good
before.
one.
Interesting story about that. Mark Timon, who's the founder of Vibrant Health, coined vibrance back in like the late 80s, early 90s. And before then, it really wasn't a word, interestingly enough.
Oh.
When you look in the dictionary,
It's a buzzword.
Yeah, but
wow.
no, it's there. And there are so many companies that have gravitated to that name and that word where they wanted to use it for their own products. I believe it's all around being vibrant and vibrancy and an energy that you get when you do a certain thing or take a certain ingredient. And I think it was aptly chosen for Green Vibrance in many of our products because that's how you feel when you take it. You will hear often that customers who take the product say, well, I think I noticed a difference, but I can tell you when I don't take it, I really notice a difference. If you,
Yeah.
when you first take green vitamins, you'll notice you'll feel vibrant. You'll have a vibrancy. But then when you're on it for a while, that just becomes the new norm of how I feel.
Right.
But when you don't take it, it's like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of feel like the wind has been taken out of your sail. And that's really because when Mark was formulating the product, and even to this day, when we're making the tweaks that we do to different versions of the formula, you know, we're always adding things that are going to, you know, give your cells the energy it needs to thrive, you know?
Yeah.
And your cells need to be fed, they need to be rested, they need to be kept from toxins, but more importantly, they need to be fed and protected. And it's amazing what happens to your energy when you feed them, and your ability and your immune system. And we're talking about immunity.
Yeah.
That's one of the cornerstones of the formula. When you have a robust immune system, you just feel good. You know, you really just. You know, and it's not that we don't come in contact with these pathogens or viruses or invaders. They're around us, on us, all the time, in us. It's just whether or not we're going to allow the inmates to take over the asylum, or we're going to, you know. And so, anyway, that's what vibrance means to me.
Mm-hmm. So vibrance means productive energy to me.
Love that.
Once I started using the Vibrant Health products, because again, I was introduced to Vibrant Health and to Green Vibrance by Ted. I just didn't realize that I was really operating kind of just below par. And once I started using the product, I really felt this boundless, this energy that gives me the motivation to push myself. Ted calls me a workaholic sometimes because I've got things I need to do.
Because you are.
I think honestly, that's how we were able to grow this company.
Yeah.
It's that passion about the product,
The energy it gives us.
the energy that it gives us, the motivation it gives us, and
what we see customers, you know, realize, the benefits that they realize, really motivates us probably more than anything.
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely. It's about the product. I don't think that we would be as passionate about coffee, let's say, or something else, because we are, you know, living proof that the product really does change your life. It's easy to share that with anyone, and it's not a false claim.
Right.
There's actually physical, you know, proof that it does really change your life. And you know, the team that we have at Vibrant Health, also they drink the Kool-Aid, so to speak. They use the product. When we went in shelter in place and we talked about immunity, we made sure that every single employee had a sufficient supply of Gigartina, vitamin C, of the immune defense, vitamin D. We know the gentleman that owns Sovereign Silver, which is the colloidal silver. We bought that for the entire team because we want them to stay healthy and stay safe while we kind of go through these uncertain times together. And I know that having these products available to us will allow us to continue to do what we're doing, can help us to stay healthy, help us get the energy that we need to keep bringing great products out to the marketplace that we know are going to help millions of people live a long and healthy life. That's why we do what we do.
That's a statement right there.
Yeah. So we're going to introduce a